We need to talk. You know, this has been coming, and I think I've just gotten a little too comfortable where I'm at and the situation I'm at to do anything about it. So yeah, we really need to talk about the books that I've read. Hey, hi, hello, what's up? I'm Allie, and welcome back to my channel. It has been a little bit since I've done a wrap-up. Life just got really busy, and then I got COVID. I still got COVID. So, yeah, that's where we're at. I have talked about pretty much all of these in a video of some sort at some point anyway, but it's always nice to have one spot where you can find everything. I will have timestamps listed down below. If there's any title that you are interested in hearing my thoughts about, you can skip right to it. Anyway, let's get right into this. The first book that I have is Bone Gap, and this is an oldie. This is a booktube oldie. I remember way back in the day, everyone was talking about this book and raving about this book, and this was part of one of my unhauled challenges that I did. It takes place in like a small town that there's kind of like some weird stuff going on in, and we follow a character who he's very concerned. There's this new girl that arrived and was kind of like falling in love with his brother, and then out of nowhere she just disappeared, and everyone keeps saying that she just got up and left, like she didn't want to be here anymore, and no one seems concerned, but he's fairly certain that she has been kidnapped and that she was stolen away, and he has to go find her. So we have a bit of a mystery, but there is like some paranormal fantasy aspects to this. It also has some really whimsical aspects to it because there's more to it than that. Like, it's just about this small town and all its like weird little magical quirks that people just kind of live with and deal with and don't really discuss. And it's so lovely. I don't know why I put this off for so long. I think it's just because the cover just doesn't do anything for me, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I really don't think this is as interesting as people are gonna think that it is. It's also just kind of like the premise, I feel like, doesn't even explain what it is, because it just sounds like she was kidnapped by a dangerous man whose face he can't remember. And it's like, okay, but like, what else? So I think this is great for fans of the Raven Boy Cycles meets Sadie. Theirs are really lovely and quirky, and you can't help but fall in love with their weirdness, and they're just so unique as well. And I love this kind of like small town drama, but adds some like fantastical elements in with it. And the pacing I thought was really great too, because not only are we getting like his point of view of him like trying to figure out what is going on, but we also get her point of view as she has been kidnapped. So it's interesting to see the parallels between what is happening and what is happening to her. So it was really great. I flew through this. I like started listening. I couldn't stop. It was just so good. I ended up giving this a 4.5. I cannot believe that I put this off for so long. Alright, then we have just Crescent City 2. What is this called? House of Sky and Breath. I did a 24-hour reading sprint. 24 hours of reading sprint, and I went live, and I said I was going live until I finished this book, and I did manage to finish this book in that 24-hour sprint, and I had such a good time. Don't worry, another one will be coming, but I finished this in 24 hours, so anyone who was there at the end of the 24-hour stream got to see my live reaction to this monstrosity. First of all, it's a lot to take in. I think this had the same problem for me as a house of whatever the other one is. Basically, the beginning of this is a bit slow. I also thought this one was weird in that, like, basically it doesn't pick up really where it left off in book one, and you're kind of thrown into something totally new, and that's weird, I feel like, to give your readers absolutely no hints. Like, it's one thing to spoon feed everything that happened in book one at the beginning of book two, but I mean, like, not even really any hints to help remind the reader what had happened in the first one. You're just totally thrown in, new names, new setting, everything. You're just kind of like, it's a bit disorienting, and it's interesting for a book that you have to wait like upwards of 2 years before it gets published to read, and then yeah. Anyway, it was a choice. It was a choice, and I can't say that I enjoyed that choice, but there was just, I don't even know. I'm not really giving a synopsis of this plot because I feel like this book has been seen everywhere all over BookTube. And if you're really not into like fantasy romance, this probably isn't really going to be your thing anyway. It's honestly not even that great of a fantasy romance. No, I honestly couldn't care less about the two main characters. Couldn't, I literally do not care about them. I am here for pretty much every other side character. I don't care. And honestly, Danica, like, I'm just more concerned about everything in Danica's life that had happened, and I want more of that than I do of whatever the fuck is going on here. I At the time, I was really frustrated with the end because there's so much that is just so fucking convenient to the story. And it's like one of those. Sarah J. Maas was really good for this in Throne of Glass. It worked for Throne of Glass because it was like consistent and it was kind of like new. But now that I've read Sarah J. Maas, I know what to look for, and I kind of knew ahead of time what was going on. And it's just like she throws things out of left field that like nothing has led up to this moment. She just is like, oh, by the way, this was happening this whole time. It was actually like, basically forget the last like 200 pages. It was just happening this whole time. And it just kind of like feels like a cop out, and it feels like lazy writing, to be honest. So I do have frustrations with that. I have frustrations with the convenience of it all. Also, again, just poor timing on like the sex scenes and stuff as well. Just like, I don't know. Also, the angsty tension and just the romantic sexual tension. The sexual tension between literally everyone is intense, and like that's all it is. It's just everyone just like drooling over everyone else, and we do nothing about it. So it's just, I didn't love it. The ending, I'm very up in the air about. I said I was going to do a live stream at some point so we could all come together and rant about it, and I still might. But I just I feel like I need to see what the next plan is for the ending of this to fully grasp, because I think it's a money move and I don't like it. But also I'm interested to see what the bigger picture is here. I have several reasons of why I just really think it's a cop-out and also a money move, and I'm just not super excited about that, and I'm a little disappointed overall, but at the same time, like, I'm invested in this story, and I am interested to see what's going to happen. For right now, the rating is at a 3. However, I do absolutely think that could change based on what the next steps are, which sounds so weird. I've never rated a book based on other books, but I feel like she has given me no other option. So that's where we are with this. To shocking surprise, another book that I ended up reading for my Unhaul challenge was Lux. I read Lux, Obsidian, and Onyx because I fully thought this is also one that's been out forever. This is a paranormal YA romance, very true to like the Twilight era, in that like it was when YA felt new and there weren't a lot of standards, it felt like. This is about a girl who moves to a new town, and her next door neighbors finds out that they're all incredibly sexy aliens. And someone is like hunting them down to kill them, and she gets involved. You got your broody bad boy romantic interest that she is technically forbidden to be with. You got like the quirky, like not like other girls' best friend. You got her, you know, she's like the plain Jane. Oh no, no one will like her because she is just so mousy and like, yeah. Anyway, typical YA romance, and I fully went into this like not expecting it to be a masterpiece. I honestly thought I was going to DNF it. I'm so fucking addicted to this series. Oh, I couldn't stop reading. I like got into it, and then I'm like, God damn, this shit is good. This shit, I gotta know what happens. Do she get him? Of course she gets him. What happens next? The tension is written between these characters so well. Something about that stuff. I think there's a nostalgia factor in it for me because they just don't write on like they used to, which is a good thing, but also there's a bit of a nostalgia factor in there with it as well. Is it the most amazing thing ever written? No. Did I have a ton of fun reading this? Absolutely, which is why I then immediately after finishing the first one read the second one because I had to know what else was going to happen between these characters. There is enough of like, although the romance is front and center, there is enough of like a general plot that is interesting. I mean, our lives are on the line here. That is interesting enough that keeps you hooked. I think Jennifer Armentrout tends to have a pretty good balance between action and romantic action and having a balance between that. So I do think that there is a talent in that, and I think that she does it very well, and I think that this is just the perfect mixture of those things to really keep you hooked. I ended up giving both of these 3 stars. Again, they're not masterpieces, but I did have a really fun time reading them, and I do think that they just work, and I did keep them. I also read Hyde, and this was a Literally Dead book club pick, and if you missed it, Kayla had asked me to be one of the co-hosts for this book club selection live show, so yeah, is it a surprise that I had a different opinion than literally anyone else? This was one of my most anticipated releases of the year. I was really excited. I've read a Kirsten White before. However, this is something quite unlike anything she's done before. This is an adult horror. This takes place in an amusement park, and basically several several contestants have been picked to play hide and seek in an abandoned amusement park, and they are told the last one standing will win a shit ton of money, and all of them are desperate in different ways for this money. They don't know what their connections are to each other, and they find out pretty quickly that it is not just a game of hide and seek, it is a game of survival. We follow Mac, who has a pretty traumatizing backstory, and she is really good at hide and seek. She survived with hide and seek before, so she thinks that she can do it again. She does end up realizing that she's going to have to do more than play hide and seek to survive. There are so many bad reviews about this book, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I really think that this was marketed incorrectly. The thing that sold it to me was someone saying it was like The Quiet Place. So then I had a little bit more of what to expect going into it, and you're not just sold on like, this is people killing people horror. There is a paranormal aspect to this as well. It does have some mythology involved, just very lightly. There is like magic and cults and stuff within this book, and it's small. There's a lot packed into this. I also read this as a satire, and you almost have to read the author's note in the back. I wrote Hyde as a scream of rage, and it's basically about how the state of the world is and all the things that the author is just angry about that are happening in the world, especially the US, and how it's a bit dystopian feeling as is, and all the social injustices and whatnot. So you almost have to read it a bit like a satire as well, but honestly I went into this just having a fun time. I didn't over dissect what was happening. I didn't try to think too much about the action that was occurring. I just looked at this as a campy horror movie. Who's going to die next? I literally played a game throughout this. Who is next to die? Let's see if I can guess who's next to die. And I had so much fun with this. I love the setting. I think the maze work of the amusement park is so fun. I thought the gory details were just gory enough, but not overly gory. Sometimes some gore is just too much. I don't mind gore, but sometimes some of it is just too much. It's more for a shock factor, and I think this was a pretty happy medium. I also thought that this did a really good job at explaining millennials and the desperation that millennials have, and basically how they're all feeling a bit lost in the world because they're adults, but also they don't feel like adults, and it's really hard to feel like an adult in today's society and things like that. So I did love so many aspects of this. I had such a fun time reading it. I took down so many notes because I just had such a fun time reading it. So I know this is not a recommendation that I will be giving to everyone. I just know that. I've seen so many people just like this. I do think that they felt like they were misled, they were missold this story, and I really agree. I don't think the marketing did its job. I also don't totally agree that this is fully an adult book, even though the characters are adults, but we have to remember that, like, Kirsten White writes YA, and I do think that there are some properties in this that are very YA-esque. Not necessarily the characters, but the writing style in and of itself is YA-esque in a way. A lot of, there's some tropes in this that kind of fall into line with things that I would more think so in YA, so just keep in mind on that. I ended up giving this 4.5 because I fucking loved it, and if this is the most unpopular opinion that I have, I feel like, right now. I did honestly also DNF a few books in between this read and then a few other reads just because I just couldn't find my groove of reading after that. So I do have like a whole stack of books that I've started and have done nothing with. But a lot of times when I find myself in a rut, I end up turning to graphic novels, which is a bit of what I have done recently. One of the things I picked up was Bear. This follows Bear, who is a guide dog for his blind owner, and one day his sight goes out and he doesn't know what to do. He ends up being tricked by some nefarious raccoons into getting lost in the woods, and he has to find his way back by learning how to use his other senses along the way. This was so cute and wholesome, and it's adventurous, and it's just really lovely. I love seeing this. I loved watching as he was learning how to use other things as well, and the love that him and his owner had between each other. It was really cute. I don't have too much to say other than that. I gave it a 4 stars. Really enjoyable, and if you're looking for a really quick and wholesome read, this is it. I also read Pride and Prejudice for my unhaul challenge, and do I need to say the synopsis of this? Follow Elizabeth as she meets Mr. Darcy and they fall in love, except for they're kind of like enemies to lovers, except for they're the true definition of dislike to lovers, because upon meeting each other, he's literally like, "You're ugly and boring." And that's how it starts. And then the man disappears for half the book. So anyway, if that's your thing, in this society are trying to find wives. The women in this society are not trying to find wives. The women in this society are looking for husbands, and, vice versa. And it is about, like, the drama and finding all that and the inner dramas and how the families are connected and the ways that they try to maneuver in society to make the things happen that they want to happen, and, like, scandals and whatnot. So yeah, I didn't love this. I didn't hate it. I honestly was quite bored for most of it. It just seemed to drag. Again, Mr. Darcy isn't even present for most of this book, and I didn't even find him all that charming. It was kind of annoying. I never really felt when the switch happened when they actually liked each other. Honestly, did never. No, I feel like they are still just kind of like they married, but like maybe they don't actually, like, I don't know. I feel like I need to watch the movie to fully clear up what the hickety heck was happening. I was much more interested in the scandals that were going on. Honestly, there's so much scandal. So, but there's just so much of this that is just like a day-to-day life, and like walking back and forth and talking with our friends and like having tea, and I just don't care. Elizabeth's father is the star of this book, and that is all. I gave this a 3 stars. Again, didn't hate it, didn't love it. I also read Daughters of the Lake, and if you've seen one of my recent uploads, you will know this is one of the best books that I've read so far this year, if not probably my favorite. This is this is a mystery thriller. but it's also got a bit of a paranormal aspect to it. It follow Kate. She's having a rough time at life right now. Like, she just got a divorce and she's back at home with her parents. She keeps having these dreams about this woman, and then one day this woman washes up dead on the shore with a baby in her arms. And she's like, oh my God, I've been dreaming about this woman. This is so weird. So not only that, but we realize that this woman isn't even from a century. She's from like 100 years ago, and she has been perfectly preserved in this lake, and no one can make sense of it. And her and the detective have to work together to figure out what's going on, but she has to use her dreams to help her figure out. Along the way, though, we're also uncovering the history of this woman and, of course, how she died and the things that happened. So we're going between two different timelines. We're following Kate as she is trying to figure these things out, but we're also following the timeline of the dead woman and what was leading up to her death. And this is very much small town drama, scandal. You kind of can guess some of the things that are going to happen, but don't worry. The author threw one last plot twist in there that was like, had me absolutely shocked. And the really fun part about this is that there are ghosts, and there's ghosts involved, and I love that anytime there was a ghost involved, I just like squealed a little bit because I just love that. I love that there was like a little kind of like paranormal window to this. There's also like myths, how people kind of forget the legends of the land that they come from over time and how that becomes relevant in this story. And I love that it's like about generational ties and generational trauma. Let me just smack myself in the face with the book. It's fine. So I fucking love this. I think Wendy Webb has done a fantastic job at writing this. I thought it was a bit slower paced, but I thought it was really well told. She can really read people well and writes them really well, and like their intentions and thoughts and their personalities. And I just really, really love this. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It is one of the only 5-star reads that I have given this year. And then the last thing that I ended up reading recently was Spectacle Volume 3. Again, I turn to graphic novels when I tend to be in a bit of a slump because I know I'm pretty much going to enjoy them, especially a series that I love. Spectacle follows twin sisters who work in a carnival. They have a past, but it's kind of hidden from them. They've kind of like pushed it. They don't want to work on that. But one of the sisters has been murdered, and she's come back as a ghost, and they're trying to solve, because she didn't see who her murderer was, they're trying to solve this murder. However, weird things start happening, and more people from the carnival are disappearing, or bad things are happening to them and whatnot. And it is just so fun. It's such a fun story. It's beautiful. The illustrations are beautiful. I don't want to give too much away. Illustrations are beautiful. I love this. There's also a female romance within this, and it is just so lovely. I have such a fun time reading these every time. I love the story. I love the mystery. I still got no fucking clue now I do, because I'm on volume 3. But the first two, I was like, who is it? Who is it? And I'm pretty sure the 4th one is already out. So I'm going to have to get onto that because I just really enjoy this series so very much. I gave that a 4.5 as well. So those are the things that I have read recently. I've already read so much in the time that I've been home with COVID. So my next wrap up will probably be a big one as well. So yeah, let me know what you've read recently. If you've read any of these, how you feel about them, just let me know. Don't forget to subscribe to see future videos from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!